In January 2001, Nitro Dave's LLC started out by reselling performance products, filling nitrous bottles, and supplying race fuel. It quickly became a full-blown speed shop, complete with installation and tuning services. In 2003, Nitrous Outlet was born. Nitrous Outlet originally developed unique nitrous accessories used in conjunction with other systems brands. Through Dave's tuning and racing of nitrous-fed applications, he discovered a void and properly designed products due to lack of research and development in the industry. Dave made the choice to sell off the speed shop and devote his life to pushing the Nitrous Outlet brand, named to being number one in the industry. Welcome to the Cutting Edge Garage Podcast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Cutting Edge Garage Podcast. We're here today with Dave Vasser of Nitrous Outlet. Dave, thank you for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about Nitrous Outlet, what you guys do, why everybody that's in the racing game seems to say that when it comes to nitrous Outlet is the only game in town.
We are really focused in nitrous applications. We're focused in tech, the R&D side of it, technology, and being innovative. And I think at this time we are the only company doing so.
So in our personal conversations that we've had in the past, you used to work for Home Depot, correct?
Correct.
So how do you make that transition from working at Home Depot to being the go-to guy for nitrous in the racing world?
Well, I'm impressed you remembered Home Depot. So I worked at Home Depot for probably 2 or 3 years, and it was kind of a transition period for me because before that I'd always done framing or worked at mobile home plants. Whenever I went on to Home Depot, I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I was in my early 20s, 9th grade dropout, so not much education behind me. And I really got caught up in the management program at Home Depot, thinking that was going to be my future. And it really wasn't. There's too many politics there. I felt like I wasn't appreciated. And so I started trying to figure out what I was going to do. And I just started doing something for myself. And so I traded my motorcycle for an enclosed trailer. And on the weekends, I borrowed a truck to pull it. And I would go to the racetrack and sell race gas and fill nitrous bottles, which led into peddling parts. What ended up happening from there is we ended up opening a speed shop. And within that speed shop is where Nitrous Outlet was born, because we were installing and tuning all the other companies' products. We started designing product to go with their product that would work with it. And then we just started trying to fix bad designs. And now here we are today.
That's awesome. So how long of a transition was that from okay, I'm working at Home Depot to we're going to open the speed shop to, all right, we're going to, fix broken designs, as you said?
That transition period, I want to say working out of the trailer was probably the first couple of years. We worked, we traveled with the drag boats and sold fuel out there and filled bottles. And then we just hit certain track events. We opened our very first building in a strip center with 900 square feet. And I shared rent with an import shop. That was back whenever the tuner cars were really coming on strong.
Right. And
so we rent, and I had no clue what I was going to do. I was just doing it. And a local company. So at that time, I'll give you a good laugh. I was cooking donuts at 3 a.m. for Shipley's Donuts. And then I would leave and go open the shop from 9 to 6. And then at night, I cleaned the kitchen and delivered food for Jason's Deli. So I operated on about 3 or 4 hours of sleep. And there was a local shop here in town that built LS cars. And so I was trying not to step on his toes because I thought he was a friend. And one day we all went to lunch and he started making fun of me, calling me Donut Dave. And we left, and my wife at the time looked at me and said, "He's not your friend," and it made me mad. I said, "You're right. I'm going to put him out of business," and that's exactly what I did. So
go
I
do
went.
donuts around him.
Yeah, exactly. I went and rented our first building, and I actually ended up hiring his head technician, which was my best friend, and we just started working on cars. And that's really kind of where the transition came from, peddling parts to building cars, which put us into tuning cars and gaining knowledge on how different designs work and how things flow. And that's really where the engineering side of in my brain came from.
So was it just you guys in the beginning, just you and your best friend that you hired away from your so-called buddy?
For a very short amount of time, it really kind of exploded pretty quick. And I want to say it's because of being organized. A lot of shops that become from guys that just have a talent. They have a talent, but they have a terrible business sense, and they're not real organized. I had a great head technician. I ended up hiring two right after him. And it's like we just exploded. It turned out that the guy down the road was ripping a bunch of people off, and they just started having their cars loaded up and brought to us. So the speed shop exploded. And I want to say it was 2005, 2006. I had started a Nitrous Outlet already, and I couldn't afford to do both. And again, I was a terrible businessman. I couldn't figure out how to balance it. I was paying my technicians 60% of the shop ticket.
That didn't work out too well.
I was trying to live on 40%. So I actually ended up, whenever I sold the speed shop off, we had a 3-month backlog to get your car in there. There were 3 to 4 techs in the back and 2 sales guys up front. I took the sales guys with me for Nitrous Outlet, and I sold the install shop to David Clark, which was my head technician.
Okay. So,
and
are you guys not doing the installs and stuff now?
No, the only thing we do installs, but it's very unique. The installs we do is because we're writing instructions,
okay,
or we're designing products. So it's all new stuff. We don't work on cars other than that aspect. If a car comes into our R&D room, it's usually because we're designing something.
Okay. Makes sense. So, that you said you're not a good businessman, but yet you've enjoyed a lot of really good success from our conversations. The business has grown. How many people are you at right now?
We have 32 employees, and this is our 20th year.
Yeah.
So learning to become a businessman. I'm learning to add people that are smarter at areas that I'm terrible at. And because of that, our success has really came on in the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think that's the key to success in any business is surround yourself with good people, and get out of the way and let them do their job, and you'll find success. So I took your advice. One of the things that we've done here is hired a CFO, probably the best thing that I've ever done. My accountant told me that I needed to hire somebody that was strong enough to tell me no. And so we hired a dodgy Aussie that has no problem with telling anybody no, me included. So that's worked out good. That was some great advice. What other advice would you give people that are, trying to grow their business? Let me say it this way. One of the things that really spoke volumes to me about you as a business owner is your commitment to your employees. Do you mind talking about that for a little bit?
So I'm right there with you. I had to put somebody in place to tell me no. And that's the reason I shared that bit of information, because that was the best thing I did. Because business guys like us, we tend to just go. And sometimes we have to have somebody go, hey, finish this first, or, this needs to make some money before we start doing that. Or no, you can't go buy a new motor for your race car. So those things really helped. The employees is what makes the company. We're just the captain of the ship. We have the vision. Generally, a company is doing well because the guys in charge are good people, people, for communicating and doing that aspect. But what we really pushed and what has really became really good is from with inside, because the company's only going to be as good, as strong as the backbone that it has. And the company, the employees are the backbone. As we grew, we couldn't afford to pay that much in the beginning. So while some employees were stepping stone, while we were a stepping stone for some employees as they moved into wherever they were going to go, they were also a stepping stone for us to build our company. And as money allowed and the company started becoming profitable, we started advancing the pay structure very aggressively. We fought for 3 to 4 years to get health care. That was a big struggle. I didn't realize at the time how important it was. And I think that was probably just the younger me, because I never got sick, not realizing it. We finally got health care, and we give our guys free health, vision, and dental, which is a huge expense. But as a result, your guys are most of the time healthy. They're all happy. They have 401k match and paid holidays and all those things. As a framer, building houses, I didn't have any of that stuff. I mean, we got lucky if they took out taxes. So by doing that, our turnover rate is very low now, by getting the pay structure where it was, because it also allowed us to be more picky about who we kept working here. So it became it became a two-way street. We have a high expectation, but now we're able to pay well to have that high expectation. And we do stuff like the last thing we did here was a big crawfish bowl. And we shut down for a couple hours and we had a crawfish bowl. I can't tell you how many times we've rented a steakhouse and taken all of our staff to a steakhouse. As we set those records and we grow, and sometimes it's just because everything's chaos and you just got to show the guys that you really appreciate them. And I think that spoke volumes. I have guys work for me. The younger guys don't seem to understand how lucky we have it yet. But the older guys that have worked at other places and have been through it, they're like, man, these guys have no clue. This is awesome. And
there's two guys behind this camera that are smiling because they're like some of my original team members. And so they're like, yeah, we get that. We're hiring people now. And, we have a training program where it used to be, we push you off the boat. If you can swim good, we'll drag you back in the boat. And if not, the boat's leaving. And
right.
that was our training program. So now, some of the guys that have been with me a while feel as though the new people are quote unquote sheltered, and, they should be thrown in the water as well.
They have no clue. I like to hear to be in here for a long time telling the other guys, man, you have no clue what it used to be like.
Well, it's almost like parental stories, right? It's almost like your dad telling you, I walked uphill both ways to school in the snow and the rain. It's those kind of stories that our older employees share with the newer ones. You guys don't know how good you have it and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, It's funny. I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue.
I don't even remember where we were.
You were just talking about the transition and some of the younger employees just not, because they didn't go through that early struggle, not having that appreciation for everything that you guys have now.
Yeah, I think that, and the other thing that's really big is we built a management team and allowing them to do their job instead of micromanaging everything. So I answer to the managers now. I don't answer to their employees. If I see something I don't like, I tell the manager. And like we're still battling excessive cell phone use, excessive go hide in the bathroom. And I talk to other business owners and we all battle that. And at one time I was going to put cell phone blockers in the bathroom, and then my management team illegal and we can't do it. So I'm like, let's find out what Buc-ee's builds their bathrooms with, because the cell phone doesn't work in their bathroom, and let's just break it up that way then.
That's right.
So it's kind of funny because the battles we used to have were real battles. Right. Now the battles are who peed on the toilet seat.
Right.
stuff like you would have at home. But, we have 4 women and the rest are all guys. And we have to remind them, hey, look, your mama doesn't work here, so you need to clean up after yourself. And they're grown men. So
Yeah.
that's our struggle these days.
Well, grown physically, not necessarily, in maturity. We all mature at different ages. I'm still working on that maturity level myself.
Yeah, I think that's the hard thing. I'm kind of a neat freak. You can't tell by my office right now because we added offices. I hadn't had my own office in years. There was 3 of us. Wendy, which is accounting and HR, and then Jacob, which is my right-hand man. We all shared an office. And this last, I guess it's been a couple of months ago. My office should be organized and clean by now, but it's not. It's still just buckets of tubs that I transferred from the other office in here. But anyways, the work environment is big for keeping employees happy. Everything's air conditioned here. That was a big expense. So we have an air conditioned warehouse. It's amazing how much production went up and just how happy everyone is from doing it. And some of those expenses originally, we were like, and then I decided, well, let's put it in here. And if it doesn't work out, we'll just turn it off. But it's been great because Texas summers are pretty extreme.
Yeah.
And so it's made a big difference.
Yeah, we're down in South Alabama, and it's the same thing. It's it's hot and humid most of the year, so it starts somewhere in that April all the way through. It won't really cool off until at least after Thanksgiving, or Halloween, and then we start getting some cooler weather by Thanksgiving. But the rest of that's hot and humid weather. And when I first moved down here, I was still turning wrenches, and I worked for a Honda dealer that was air conditioned, the only air conditioned shop I've ever worked in my life. And the owner was cheap. They wouldn't buy equipment for the shop, and yet it was air conditioned. And I asked them why they air conditioned the shop one day, and the service manager actually told me they shut the air conditioning down, and they did a study, and the shop in the summer months and when it's really, really hot, productivity in the shop was up 60%.
Oh, wow.
So it was that much of a difference in productivity from the guys. So that's why the guy that wouldn't buy a new, impact gun would pay for air conditioning so you could turn more hours. That's basically what it boiled down to.
It makes sense. That's what we've seen here. Just it's hard to work if you're sweaty and you got mosquitoes biting you because the doors are open and you're just miserable. You're not going to feel it. Your quality of work is going to go downhill. And so I always tell everybody that the quality of your work is a reflection of the quality of the environment you're working in, which is why I'm also if you walk through, you can show up here any time and walk through our warehouse, and it's worked in, but it's immaculate, and that's every day. At the end of the day, I make them clean before. And the good thing about that too is if you are having a bad day, if you leave the mess from that day, when you come back in, that day is still sitting there, facing you. But if you clean up the next day when you come in, that day's not still sitting there for you.
I'm pretty sure that I'm going to mandate that my warehouse personnel watch this podcast.
It really does.
It does. And I'm a neat freak myself, so it doesn't matter how much they clean. I'm always seeing something that they missed or should have done or did. So I try to curb that as much as I can, because I can be a little obsessive with it.
Yeah. Kevin, our warehouse manager, this happened just earlier. Whenever I walk in and I start doing stuff, he'll look at me and go, "Are you about to wreck my day?" Because that's normally what comes after it.
They can see me coming because there's like double doors that I have to go through. So when you open the outside door where their desks are, there's a glass window in the interior doors, and you can see their head pop up, and they look to see who's coming. As soon as they see me, everybody gets up and everybody's doing something, and then they pretend like I don't see that they were all sitting there doing, cell phones or whatever they were doing before I walked into the warehouse. But everybody's up being busy, except for my son. My son works in the warehouse. He continues to sit there on his cell phone.
That's what he wants.
Yeah, I got to go smack him in the head. Thomas, go do your job. Yeah.
That's my nephew and my son work here during the summer.
Okay.
And me that I have a chronic cough. I've had it for years, and the doctors are still trying to figure out, but it tells on me. You can hear me coming. And so they were telling me one day, yeah, everybody's like goofing off until they hear you cough. And then at it. I'm like, is that right? So they haven't learned to keep their mouth shut yet.
That's awesome. Now, you guys are in a fairly new facility now, correct? Didn't you build a new place or moved into a new place?
Yeah, we moved in here. Man, I'm a terrible judge of time. It's probably been 6 years now, somewhere around there. And it's time to move again. We're looking.
Out of space?
Yeah, we're just out of space. I looked at adding on. Our building's 13,000 square feet. I looked at adding on another 8,500, and it was about $450,000 to add on. I'm into this building for the right price that I could turn a profit off of it and get out of city limits, kind of get on the outside a little bit. So we're looking. We're not in a hurry because it always seems to set us so far back as far as, keeping an eye on the ball. But we're getting ready to kick off 2 new companies. And it's actually what I've been doing a lot between running been building the partnering program and the product line. And I'm hoping to have them both fired up by the end of the year. I've been trying to do it for 3 years. So we're finally at the point now where it's like so back in the day, we grew so fast that a lot of things you had people in place because it's who you could get, and they weren't really the right person for the job for structure. And so instructions were a mess, and part numbering system was a mess. And we came through and we just rebuilt everything over the last 2 years because originally we wanted to kick off Flow Supply. Flow Supply is a fitting and hose company, and we're building water tanks, fuel tanks, a lot of the fab stuff that we do here. And it all crosses over because we already do fittings and hoses. So it just made sense just to go more extreme to it. We decided that adding more fuel to the fire was probably going to be our death sentence. So we were growing at such a rapid pace that if we added anything else that wasn't done perfectly, I was afraid we wouldn't overcome it. So we just pumped the brakes and we tried to slow down the growth, which sounds really crazy. And that was the smartest thing we did because that's when the turnover also stopped. Because before we had the wrong managers in the seats, we had toxic people working here that you always hear people say, if you got a toxic employee, get rid of them
immediately.
And so, but the first thing is you got to figure out, well, why are they toxic? Is it because of the environment you have them in? And if that's the case, you got to fix that yourself. Because then the next person you put in that seat is going to be toxic too, because you created that right. Toxic. But then as we got rid of those problems, we just had some toxic people. And after we got rid of them, that was really whenever the productivity of fixing the broken stuff that didn't get done 100% right got solid. And about a month ago, we finished redoing all the instructions and stuff that were done wrong. And that was a huge overtaking because you got to get those cars back in and you got to go through and you got to figure out, well, why did we do this? Why did we do that? I have another project that I started 10 years ago, and the managers have begged me to drop it because we've just bled out on it. And I have a vision of offering a harness for every car that is common that just drops in and you plug the nitrous system up. You hook up a couple wires and you're ready to go. It's all plug and play. And that has been a challenge. That's probably been the biggest challenge I've had in a long time. And last year we hired a guy that drag races bikes and he wires race cars. He's an older guy, probably a little older than I am. And he's got the skill set and he's got the knowledge because he's been doing it all of his life. And he kept asking me about it. Well, why did we put a pause on this program? And I told him, I said, because I have one guy drawing diagrams that is awesome at drawing, but doesn't understand wiring. I had one guy writing instructions that had never done installs on cars before. And then I got the wiring guy that's over here doing that. And I said, it was just every time I turned around in my head, I thought it was simple. Well, why are we screwing this up? A harness would go out and something would be pinned wrong, and the diagram didn't match. It was so frustrating. So he told me, he said, hey, why don't you just pull me from where I'm at and let me build that department? And he pushed me for about 2 months. He said, don't drop this yet. I see the vision with you. And I'm like, all right. So I sat down with the management team and I said, I want one more try at this. And of course they're all like, oh God, the sales guys,
here we go again.
They're like talking them out of buying horses. These are awesome concept, but it's going to have problems. Don't buy it from us. And I mean, that's because they know the tech that's going to come behind it. It's going to have issues, right? So I put Roger in that seat. Well, first I got permission from the management team. And I said, I'll make you a deal. By the end of this year, if we don't have this program 100%, I'll never look back at it. I'll give you that word. And so they gave me the go ahead, and we moved Roger there. And the first thing he had to do, so you're taking an old guy that don't know his way around a computer, and I had to send him to training to learn how to draw diagrams and Word and Excel. And you teach an old dog new tricks. And man, he's killing it right now. We just finished the C8 Corvette, the Pro Mats and the Win Mats harness. And we started there because it's the only car he's being a part of that we brought in. And he revamped that whole system. So now he writes instructions. He does the diagrams, and he creates the notes for Cliff to write the instructions. And then he does all the diagrams, and he builds the harnesses. And so eventually we will have the full department where if you have a new Mustang, you can call and order the nitrous system and the plug and play system. So you can take a guy that isn't real great at wiring and give him the tools and a really awesome instruction set and diagram set that he can install it in his garage.
That's awesome. Nobody else in the nitrous game is even remotely close to that, are they?
No, because it's too big of a headache. I'm still licking my wounds on it, and we've lost a lot of money at it. And I see the vision, back in, 10 years ago, we advertised it, and we were in it. We were doing it. And that was 10 years ago. We advertised it in the magazines back when everybody was doing magazines. And I still have that magazine because it's kind of like, we thought we had it figured out, and then it just got overly complicated. And it's just, once we started tripping over our own feet, we never could get our stride back. And it was a pretty disappointing program. And I'm pretty excited about it right now. I keep him and I meet, pretty much every day right now because he's been doing the drawing side of it. And hey, why did we lay this out this way? And he changed the way we do the pinout boards. So our goal is moving into it. We'll finish the new designs. It'll go onto the website. We'll offer it, and then we'll push it over into our wholesale side. But once we do that, that means we already have them built sitting on the shelf. Once that harness becomes a big player, we'll send it off to a harness manufacturer and we'll have it duplicated. Okay. So that's what we're trying to do right now. And I'm optimistic, but it's the first time I've had a hope for this program in a long time.
So did you have any formal background and or training in how nitrous systems works, or was this pretty much everything trial and error from you racing, or how'd that go?
Well, I always grew up trying to make things faster. In the earlier beginnings of playing with nitrous, we were doing the same stupid stuff we tell people not to do now. Back whenever I started, it was very gray, which means there was a lot of unknown, and so it was really easy to tear stuff up. And that's kind of where nitrous originally got its bad rep. What I came to realize whenever we started the speed shop is that all the nitrous companies weren't doing anything new. They weren't trying to make the program any better. They weren't trying to advance technology. They were just copying one another. I always tell everybody it's the same whore, different shade of lipstick. That's what they were doing. They were doing the same thing over and over. And as I started tuning cars, I came to realize that there was delivery issues due to the design of it. And it really intrigued me. And so I started learning how different things affected it. And that's really, a lot of people think I have an engineering degree, and I don't. It's just, I just know this real well. And I latched onto it. And back then when we did everything from, you name it, we did blowers, we did turbo, we did nitrous. Something about how powerful nitrous was and how easy it was to mess up really intrigued me. And I didn't like that the other power adders were advancing in technology and nobody was investing anything there. And now I understand why. It's a lot more customer service oriented, a lot more tech. We spent a lot of time making sure that we had the technical support to back the product. So that was really, I didn't want to be a parts pusher. I didn't want to be one of those companies that, hey, look, we got a single nozzle kit like Joe Bob Earl over here too. But guess what? If you need tech help, good luck, because I got a kid that's 16 on the phone and he don't know crap. I didn't want that. So putting the right guys in the seat, training them, and gaining that knowledge was very important. I have a kid now, or not a kid, a young man now that graduated Samtech, and I teach. They have companies like you and I come out and do it's like a guest teacher.
Okay.
So
Yep.
You'll teach students about what you know and whatever. So we do a lot on nitrous design and stuff out there. And those students are very smart. I've taught at other schools that man, you go to this school and they've spent 2 weeks waiting to come in and mess me up. And so and they try, and I really enjoyed it. So I go out there twice a year. And as a result, some of those students have came through here, and I have one now that came here, and he's technical and he's really good. And he started in sales, and he came to me and turned in his notice. And he was here for, I don't know, 6 or 7 months. And he said, look, I love the people. I love working here, but sales is not for me. I want to work on things. I like the technical side. And I said, so do you have a job lined up? And he told me, no, I don't know what I'm going to do. So you're talking to a young man that just had a baby, and just moved to town, has no idea what he's going to do, just knows that sales is not for him. Well, at that time, all of our sales guys was having to do the tech. And so we had grown to the point where it's really hard. And I said, look, I've been kicking around the idea of separating tech department from sales forever. What if I just gave you a really nice hourly wage and that's all you did all day? And he loves it. And he's been killing it for almost 2 years now. And that was a good transition. So I had to read the employee. It wasn't that he hated working here. Just that position wasn't right for him. So I think I just told a manager this yesterday, that as a manager, your job is to figure out how to put your employee in an area that he shines, because you may not have him in the right position the first time. And so that's one of my talents. My talent in this whole grand scheme of thing is recognizing other people's talent and making it work for the company. That's really the grand scheme. Back in the day, even with the earlier designs of where we were problem solving, I still don't know how to draw anything on a computer. I draw it on paper. And the difference back then is what people don't realize, 90% of our product is made right here in Waco, Texas. And the relationship that we had was I could draw it on paper and go, hey, can we do this? And them being the engineers and the machinists go, no, but we can do this. And so that became really unique to how we were able to be so innovative. those relationships. Now the difference is I have Cliff in R&D, and he's my guy that I go, let's do this. And then he sends the drawing down to the machine shop. And as a result, over the years, the machine shop has grown with us, because originally, they only had a couple machines. And, Summit came to us for 3 years and we turned them down because I was afraid that that our quality would suffer and we'd be out of stock and would mess up. And because we couldn't stay in stock then. And so I took both the machine shop owners and brought them in, and I said, look, here's the options. I give you purchase orders to pay for the equipment. You order the equipment and you grow with us. And that was 10 years ago. And everybody asks us, how come we don't have a CNC shop in-house? Well, it's 15 minutes down the road. I can't. We actually just reran the numbers because we actually just thought about bringing it back in-house, because the machine shop we have here is manual. So it's mill lays. We do have laser cutters and, and stuff like that, but metal brakes but all the CNC works down the road. And we just ran the numbers, and we were looking about $750,000 to buy the equipment that we needed to get started. And
space. Because you're already out of space.
We're already out of space, but that doesn't employ your programmer, your guy to run the machine, and the years of knowledge. The reason why that we're so efficient at what we do and why our products work so well is because of the brains that we also work with that are outside these doors. And if you go to one of the shops down the road, I mean, I'm amazed every time I walk in there at how much he's blown up. But 90% of that shop is running nothing but Nitrous Outlet. And as we have told him, look, we got to be more cost effective to keep things here. He's advanced his technology as well. And so we just ran the numbers to see if it would make sense. And I took them to lunch, and I've always told them, look, if that thought ever crosses my mind, I'll tell you, I'll buy you out of all the tooling you've invested in, all the programming. I've always promised them I would never leave them dry, because especially in his case, 90% of his work is us. If I pulled all of my work, what would happen?
Right.
And so he's trusted us, and he's invested in us just as much as we depend on him. And so I told him what I was thinking, and he sat me down and showed me, and I got a quote. And I didn't realize how bad he was sweating bullets, because I was thinking a 3-year plan. And then he sat down and he said, well, what exactly is the problem? And I said, well, the problem right now is I got a couple of things that are made here in Texas that not made here in Texas that I want made in Texas. And I said, and the other thing is I can't even add new product to you. You're at full tilt. And he goes, well, why don't I just buy some more equipment? And yesterday he said, machines are ordered. I said, boom. Now we're right back on track. So it's kind of weird. My brain went left instead of just sitting them down and saying, Dennis, I need you to buy some more equipment. Like, it's just, I don't know why, but it did give Jacob and I time to crunch some numbers and realize we don't want to be a machine shop. That's the guys from Rear Morrison came in here one day, and it's always awesome whenever you get guys like that in our industry that come down, and they were really intrigued by the fact that we didn't CNC everything in house, that we were designing, making, packaging, flowing, building. But he asked me why we didn't have the CNC side of it. And I told him, I said, because we've grown so fast, I've never had the time to even try to think about if I could do that. And thinking about that this last 4 or 5 months, I mean, this just happened. It actually kind of scared me, just thinking how fast it could take my eye off the ball on what we are doing by jumping into something else that we probably shouldn't be doing. I guess it's kind of like designing nitrous kits and deciding instead of just paying somebody to go paint the house, I'm going to spend 3 weeks painting the house. It's just why, do what I do well and pay somebody else that does what they do well to do it. And that was a smart choice on our part.
Yeah, friend of mine, and I love him to death. He runs a tool and equipment business. He's one of my distributors over in New Orleans. He and I have been friends since 2003, so going back a few days. And he's not a contractor. He's an equipment salesman. And he insisted on building this building. He started in 2013. He's still working on that building.
Oh, wow.
And, I'm like, Tim, I get that you don't want to borrow money. I get that you don't want to pay somebody to do something you're capable, quote unquote, capable of doing yourself. But it's taken you forever to build this building, man. How much money have you lost in your business by taking time out of the business to go run an excavator to put in some plumbing for this building that you're building? And he just never got it. And, like you said, still working on the building.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of small businessmen, because they see a vision and they know we just get it done. You know what I mean? Like a program, just to get it done. But in some cases, especially if you're busy and doing what you need to do, whenever you step away from the business suffers. And you may not realize at the time how much it's suffering. Jacob drills me all the time, like just 2 months ago, he's like, dude, what is going on? You being out so much. The guys are walking around the warehouse asking where Dave's at. And it's kind of funny. We're building a rental place, next door to our property to do, short-term rentals. And between that, the kids going, my son going to not defensive driving, not yet, driver's ed, and my daughter in school, there was a couple of weeks where I was gone a lot, and there's a lot of wasted payroll because your guys are waiting to know what the next step is, and they can't find you because you're not in the building. And so that kind of, and it was kind of funny because I decided I was going to install a dryer duct, something very simple, right?
Yep.
So I went to drill the hole through the wall because when they built this building, they didn't do it. And I'm thinking, God, this wall has like 5 layers in it. Well, it turns out I drilled through all the plumbing too. The layers was the PVC pipe. So then I had to have somebody repair it and fix it. And they're like, Dave, just leave the tools alone. Just leave that to us.
That's funny, man.
So that's truly what happened.
I would have loved to see the look on your face when you realize that. Because I've done things like that, and oh man.
Well, I was telling Roger, I was like, dude, like whenever they built this, because we didn't build the original place, we just finished it. I said, I have no clue why they put so many layers in the wall. And he kept going, what are you talking about? I said, these 4 layers in that wall. And he got down and started digging the spray foam out, and he's like, you drilled through the PVC plumbing. I'm like, oh, well, that explains it.
Well, that's layer 2, 3, and 4 right there.
Exactly what it was.
Oh, that's funny.
So then we had to rip the wall out and fix it. So a simple dryer duct that I should have just paid him to do ended up costing me 2 more weeks and more money.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So when I had the opportunity to talk to you in North Carolina, you were up there filming the FAS Society. So talk about that a little bit and working with, David over at Toy Makers. And I'm assuming this is the first time you've done something like that.
Yeah. So I met David Aiken. Man, it's probably been 4 or 5 years now. So he hired, this is how I met David. This is how this all inspired. He hired Jason Hensley. Mm-hmm. And I became friends from back whenever I was flying around tuning cars. And he's a Dodge guy, late model Mopar. And I was flying, Daniel Van Horn was flying me to each race, his modern Mopar series. And he was putting on the race, and he would fly me to come tune the car and keep it ready between rounds so he could drive his car. And I met Jason, and so we became friends. Well, one day I got a phone call from Jason, and he said, hey, I just took this job with David Aikens for Toy Makers, which is their other show, which is his bread and butter, Toy Makers. Yeah. And so he said, he has one of your competitors' banners hanging in the shop. And I told him on my first day that has to go and you have to meet David. So he introduced me to David, and the rest is history. David's such a likable guy. We became friends, and they would come down to every year we have an open house here. We didn't this last year because all this COVID mess. And we allow people just to roam through the warehouse, like whatever, check it out, and a lot of hot rods. The car show part of it is hot rods. It's not your grandpa's number matching Corvette. It's really nice race cars and street cars. And so David came down for that, and we went to several races together, and he kept telling me he was starting the Fast Society, and he's like, I want you to be in it. And I always said, okay, yeah, I'll be happy to, but I never really, all of us business guys have so many things going on. We're spitting so many different ideas. You never really know what's going to come your way, And so he told me, he said, hey, we're getting ready to start this Fast Society, so I need you to have Stitch ready. I said, okay. So I finished Stitch, which is our little S10, and it just sat because I was afraid I'd break it. And he calls me and he goes, I need you here in North Carolina in 2 weeks to film. I still, at this point, have no clue what Fast Society is. I have no clue what the storyline is, what it's about, so Lisa is asking me, and the guys here, well, what's it about? I don't know. I'm just going. And so he told me, he said, hey, the first day you can come in early and you can see what's going on and get an idea how filming is going to go. I've never done nothing like this, and he goes, and then we'll fill you in. I was like, all right. So I got there early. I got there that night, and I was thinking I was going to be able to get up and go watch filming and kind of get an idea what was going on. Well, at 6:30, my phone rings, and they go, we didn't realize we had you written into this scene. We need you here now. I'm thinking, all right. So we get there, and the filming crew's there, and they're filming the show, and Matt, which is their producer, tells me, okay, this is what you're doing in the scene. Just say these words. So we go through the first 2 days of filming, and I still have no clue what the TV show's about. I've never acted. I've never done anything. And I'm thinking, oh God, this is going to be absolutely terrible. This is going to be terrible. But I was having a great time. And to me, that's what it was all about. And so I finally sat down with Matt and David, and I said, okay, I think this is like second or third day. And I could probably do a much better job if you told me who I am in this and what we're doing, because I have no clue. And Matt goes, you don't know what the storyline is? No, y'all just chunk me in and let me drown. so they told me, and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. And so the storyline is, for the people that are listening here, it's a drama TV show around cars. And David played Reed Carolina. And then Reed Carolina was a stuntman, which, for people that don't know David, is David's real history. He was a stuntman on Batman, and I think Walker, Texas Ranger, or something like that.
Yeah.
Among other things. So, and so in this show, Dean Cain is my boss, and Dean Cain in the past was David Reed Carolina's boss, and Reed was supposed to be doing a stunt that he didn't want to do, and Dean, Mr. I don't remember what his name is in the show. Anyway, so Dean made him do a stunt he didn't want to do, and he got hurt. So the storyline picks up 3 years later. He's been through recovery, and he's opened this speed shop, and he's trying to make ends meet. And it's got a lot of track racing, street racing. And so the show's around the drama around there. And it's really pretty cool. There's a lot of hot rods and a lot of scenes. And so we finished the first episode, and they sent out the raw cut of it for us all to kind of look at and pick at. And our kids kept saying, how they thought it was just going to, as Ty puts it, cringe. The thought of me acting is cringe, right? And so whenever we watched it, I was thinking this is going to be terrible too. I was like, wow, this is pretty good. So now we're currently just waiting for David to find a home for the show, and then we'll go back to filming. And so they've been negotiating with several networks and platforms. And whenever I talked to him last week, they seem to think that they may have a deal ironed up by the end of this week. And then we'll go back to filming. So at the same time, COVID really threw a wrench in everything because he wasn't able to film Toy Makers. And so while Toy Makers was on hold, he kind of started playing around with the Fast Society. So now we're getting a second wind of COVID, so we don't know where that's going to go. But a month or two ago, David was stressed because now it's like, okay, now it's time to start filming both TV shows. And he was trying to put all of his hot rods back together because they're all apart. So we don't know where we're going to go with filming yet. We do know that it's coming. David is very determined, and for me, I'm just having fun. Like I told him from the get-go, whatever you want me to do, I'm there. So I've drove up 2 or 3 times now, and I'm kind of impressed at the end result because I just went there to have fun. I've never filmed nothing. I'm sitting here on an interview with you, but 5 years ago, you couldn't get me on the phone. I walked out of interviews at PRI because I got so scared, just like mentally thought I was doing terrible and said, screw this, and walked off in the middle of filming. And our marketing manager just looked at me like, oh my God, what are you
can't
doing?
do that.
Yes. And I told him, I said, man, you do it. I don't need to be the face of the company. He goes, you are the face of the company. You're going to have to figure this out. And so what changed for me is I made our sales manager finish the video. And then whenever it was played, they actually aired my interview up until the point that I freaked out and walked off. And I looked at it and go, wow, that was really good. I thought I was doing terrible. And so Brian, which was our marketing manager at the time, started making me do live feeds and stuff on Facebook. And that was to break my fear. And it worked. It just mentally, I would just get all kinds of twisted up. So I think if it wasn't for that history, standing in front of the camera for David would not be possible.
Yeah, that takes a little getting used to, for sure. I know earlier in my career, I did diagnostic training when I worked for Snap-on. That's what I did for them for several years. And the very first time I had to do a seminar, I mean, I was great as a tech, but or at least I thought I was. That sounded kind of arrogant, didn't it? The first time I had to actually talk about it and teach somebody something, we did it at Orion Steakhouse. And you know how big those closed off rooms are in Orion Steakhouse. It's not huge. They packed 49 people in there. I was almost sitting in the front row, standing up in front of them. And I was shaking. And internally, externally, I was shaking. I was so nervous to be in front of people talking. I've gotten used to it. Bill won't put me on a live feed for Facebook. He's scared to death of what I might say, because now I have no problem with ad-libbing, and it doesn't always come out exactly perfect.
No, I'm guilty of that too. I make up words that don't exist, or I use them in the wrong contents. And I say some pretty stupid stuff, but most people that know me know that's just me.
We've done some blooper reels. Bill could probably do a blooper reel on me just by myself in one video edit. So we've done some stuff like with Texa. We're the main importer for Texa Diagnostics. And one of the things that we focus on as a company, most of that's done through distribution, but one of the things that we focus on as a company is power sports. On-road and off-road, motorcycle, ATVs, UTVs, that kind of thing. And we did a Harley comparison video with a competitive tool, and we've gotten a lot of play out of the video. But
I want to say it probably took us 4 hours to do a 1 hour video. And Bill was yelling at me. He's like, all right, so when you screw up, give it a pause before you just roll into something else, because he's tired of editing, trying to create spots to edit what I've said. And then all the colorful language that goes along with screwing it up, because I won't do, I can't read a teleprompter, so I can't write the notes, and I just gotta do it. And it takes a while for me to get it right.
I'm going through that right now. I mean, that's literally, we hired an in-house video guy, and he's got talent, but he's learning, and he's trying to corner me in. And the very first video we did was terrible. It looked like robots because it had so many edit spots. And so that we're living that right now, because we have a vision of doing technical videos and product spotlight videos, and we haven't figured out our groove yet. We got some pretty cool stuff that's came out, but it's not where we want it yet. So we're picking at that. I can totally understand it.
Well, if Bill can be of any help, I'm not going to say that he's good at his job, because, he'll just, get a big fat head. He won't be able to walk out of this room, that kind of thing. But, I'm sure he'd be glad to talk to your guy, and, Bill, how long you been doing this now?
4.5.
So he's been doing it for 4 years, and it was like a learning experience going through how we do the videos, how we set them up, what works, what doesn't work. So if he can be of any help,
Oh, absolutely. That's what Aaron's right now, So Aaron reminds me of myself in some of this stuff, because he wants it to be so perfect that in some things he's still tripping and we just can't get it finished.
Yep.
Because we're learning at the same time, but in his mind, so we did a closing thing, like our page and blah, 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 and all that stuff, which was the end of a video we just did last week. And so I come in and I'm like, hey, how come the hot water bath video ain't up? And he goes, man, the end of it's just, I don't like it. And all the rest of the marketing team's going, it's fine. And I watched it, and I guess I'm like mean bugging the camera, but that's me straining to read the teleprompter. And like, look, we're on the video, just finish it. It'll be okay. So that's, we're kind of going through that. Okay, we want it to be perfect, but in the grand scheme of things, like back in the day, when if I just did live food videos and showed stuff, that had more reach and more organic, or more response than some of these professional things we do. People like to see the real. Trying to find that happy medium right now between professional and real.
And it seems to be, for us, it seems to be a mix, really. We did an impromptu video on a problem with an Isuzu diesel. It happened to be our truck. It was one of the tool trucks. And we had to diagnose the problem, fix it, get it back on the road. I figured, well, if we got to do this anyway, might as well get some leg out of it and make a video. But we didn't, the intent wasn't to make it like a professional, what I refer to as a propaganda video. It was, just content, so we didn't put a whole lot of spin on it. We just recorded it and had Jacob talking about, the repair and stuff like that. And I think that's our highest clicked on video that we've ever done. And it's really just, apparently several people have had that same problem. And when you can, if you can give somebody some headache medicine for their headache, then they'll pay attention to you.
Yeah, we have a WinMats video that we're wanting to do. So we have this vision to do our progress controller does a lot of features, right? And you know how like with an iPhone or whatever, you can search and just watch just that portion that you want to know how to screenshot or something like that.
Yep.
So we're wanting to do all the videos, but we want to set up a table of contents to where the guys that already have it installed or whatever, and they just want to remember how to program this one feature, can skip to. And so while we're laying that out, but then we were looking at our WinMats, which is our window switch. I just set it in my hand and walked through the programming and what it did and showed it off. And that video has more response, and the sales team and tech teams tell us that people call them all the time and go, I watched it and figured it out. And that was very, very me doing it with no clue what I was doing. And it seems to have more reach than anything else we've done. So we're kind of trying to look at that right now. And what we determined was right off the bat, we're trying to jump into too big a projects for our team, being fairly new at what we're trying to achieve. So we're backing up. And yesterday he was doing a video on our sunglasses. So, I mean, it's like, let's back up to the basics a little bit, figure out our groove so that whenever we get into these bigger things, we can get them done in a timely manner. So that's currently one of our struggles.
And you guys know your customer base really well because, you are your customer base. You guys are still racing. You do what, it isn't just a job for you. It's a big part of who you are and what you do when you're, not working, when you're playing.
Right.
So it gives you a lot of, that gives you some benefits. I think that I enjoy that as well with my customers, because, we share the same type of interests and the same type of things. So I can relate to the customers at a level another bigger corporate company just can't. And, and a lot of those guys, my experience has been a lot of those guys aren't too much into the big corporate videos. They're more into something that touches them personally,
that they can relate to. That we spent, like I told you, we just spent all this time rewriting instructions, but you just said that we can relate to our customers. And it's true. If I order a swing set, I'm going to try to bolt it together before I ever look at the instructions. Then whenever I can't figure something out, I look and then realize that I put half of it together wrong. So we're trying to get into the videos so we got a bigger chance of our customer base grabbing a soda and sitting down and watching that than reading the instructions. I mean, you got to have both, but if we can really nail this, maybe it will ease up on some of our tech calls.
Yeah, 90% of your customers are going to grab bolts before they grab paper. I guarantee you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then they're going to complain about, your instructions after they find out that they messed it up before they read them anyway. It'll be something wrong with the instruction.
Where they call our tech department, all we do is read the instructions to them. Like literally, okay, on page 5, it says, and our progress controller is it's pretty in depth technology wise. And we tell people all the time, if you have to get your son to download an app on your phone for you or do the basics of electronics, don't buy this. Like, this is not for you. And it sounds kind of weird because you're telling somebody not to buy your product. But at the end of the day, if they're not capable of doing that, they're not going to be happy with the product. And they're going to be cussing it, to their friends because they don't realize that the product was above their capability. There's some of those guys are still, back into dip switch type electronics. But then on the flip side, a lot of the racers these days, everything from the ignition system in the cars to everything's advanced to where it's more technical. So it's getting better from that aspect. Back when I entered this market, we started in late model EFI and street car stuff. I did not want to do anything race car wise because I called it the yellow bullet mentality. And back then, yellow bullet is still a form that's out there, but it's a very hardcore carbureted race car market. And most of those guys were still running the basics of an ignition, and technology hadn't caught up. So trying to tell those guys how to do something correctly, and they've been doing it their way for 20 years, was something I didn't want to do. And I got pulled into the race car market, and it's advanced a lot. And really, I had to tell my guys, look, y'all really focus more on the street car market because that's really our bread and butter. I'm just having fun breaking parts out here at the racetrack. So that's really the aspect. Now we kind of dominate both markets. Power sports. It's funny you said you're big in power sports. That's an area that we've struggled at. And it's because I don't have an in-house, very knowledgeable power sports guy. And so I have went after that market. The product's here, the quality's here, but I can't answer the tech questions that I would like to be able to answer. So I haven't advertised in that market.
Okay. Well, that was one of the questions I had for you, because we built a Can-Am Maverick. It's got some upgraded turbo stuff and some tuner work done to it. And of course, my thought process was we could probably make that faster. But I wasn't sure what nitrous was going to do to a Rotax motor, and whether the motor could handle.
That's the big thing is like Sage and Brandon. Don't get me wrong, we do a fair share of power sports, but if you ask me, Dave, what's the weak point of this motor? I don't know. I can tell you, the automotive side of it. I know what to do with timing, and I know what to do with all the stuff, because that's where I grew up doing it. So really you got to hire somebody, in my mind, that we're going to have to hire someone that has worked in power sports and knows that this Sea-Doo engine here, whatever it may be, has this issue, because we have to know where those weak points are. Don't get me wrong. I've sprayed a lot of stuff. Last 2 years ago, I did a side-by-side, the 1000, the non-turbo.
Yep.
And I put a nitrous kit on that. And man, that thing was a blast. I did it for the guys that owned Streetcar Takeover. And I told them, I said, just bring it down here because I want to do it. And I'll fix it. So, we upgraded the clutch. We put a tuner on it. We did all the stuff that's the only way you can gain the knowledge. So what I've came to realize is right now we wholesale to power sport shops. And that's really where our best, we don't advertise the retail side to power sports because we don't have the in-house guy. So we do better building the systems and the products for these shops and letting them handle that side of it.
Gotcha. Well, we'll have to play around with mine one day. It's the 1000 turbo. So it's pushing, I think it's 1,500 pounds, 250 horsepower. So we could bump that a notch. Right now it's already stupid fast, which is awesome. But we could make it better for sure. I've had it up to, it's tagged. So I've had it out on the street. I've had it up to 80 on the road. Wait a minute. Maybe I shouldn't admit that. It was a private road. So I'd just be curious to see, how fast that thing would be, with a little bit of nitrous, little extra boost.
That'd be fun.
So, tell us how to get in touch with you, or not necessarily you personally, but Nitrous Outlet. You guys are on social media as Nitrous Outlet?
Yep, we're on Facebook as Nitrous Outlet. We're on, trying to think of all the platforms we're on. We're on Twitter, Snapchat. What's the other one? Instagram.
Okay.
And it's all Nitrous Outlet, so it's easy to find. And I'm trying to remember what else. There's some, I'm kind of an old dog. I visit Facebook. That's it. I have an Instagram, a personal, but I never look at it. And we're on TikTok now.
TikTok? Okay.
Yeah. Like, all right, people send me TikTok messages, and they're always like, how come you're not on TikTok? Well, Lisa took my phone and downloaded it the other day because she's always trying to send me these videos, play it. And so she's like, here, so you can see what I'm sending you. So
that's funny. Steph's doing the same thing to me, and she asked me last night, when are you going to download that app and create an account so you can look at the stuff I'm sending you? I'm like, yeah, I'll tomorrow. I'll get it done tomorrow.
It's hard. The thing is social media already takes so much of your time.
It does.
And I hate to admit it, but I look at Facebook too much. And so the thought of trying to play around on another platform, it's for me, I'm better off letting our marketing department do all that. And they do a fantastic job at it. And I have people tell me all the time, man, that's funny what y'all shared or did. And I have no clue what they're talking about. Or people say, yeah, I was talking to you on so-and-so. So there's a Dave Vasser account, on Facebook. That's not me.
That's not you.
No, it's my employees. And so, and the reason why we have that is I started it so I could peddle parts, to sell scratch and dent stuff that, is out in the warehouse that we can't get rid of. And, I created the account and then I never logged back into it. I just started posting on. And, and it's funny because the guys joke around here because I can take something. Here's the deal with the scratch and dent thing. You can take a picture of it and you can put it on the garage sale side of your website. Now you got an employee putting it there. You got, the taking the picture time. I can take my cell phone, walk out, put it on a table, take a picture of it, say I'll take X amount of money, and it's gone in an hour. And it's off the shelf, and it's got a minor flaw, but I can't send it to somebody as a new part because it's got a scratch or something like that. But then my Facebook page is full of race car parts. My family, it's open to the public. Anybody can view it. It's matched out on friends. So I can't add anybody, but they can follow me. But that's my personal side. That's what's going on with David Vasser. It's everything from the kid's birthday party last weekend. I was at the racetrack, and then we have our social media side for Nitrous Outlet, and every now and then I'll share something from that. And then I was told, hey, you need to do a what is it called, like a entertainer page or something like that. So there's now a David Vasser public figure. That's what it is.
Okay.
And I forget to go do it too. I mean, I'm terrible. So
me too. I've got so many, I'll get home and Steph will say, I love that post. And at this point I'm just like, yeah, that's awesome, isn't it? And I have no clue what she's talking about. And, half the time, if I reshare something about the company, I'm usually resharing her post because I never even saw the post to begin with.
Right.
It's horrible. And I think it's just because of, like what you said, it just consumes so much of your time. And then you have, and there's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, that's enough. And then, TikTok is just something else to distract me during the day of actually doing something productive.
Right. Now, do you get in trouble for not liking her post?
Oh my God, yes, all the time. And I gotta like every single one of them. And then she had me change my settings. We had, talking about that toxic culture. We had a couple people that we needed to let go, and she's like, you need to change your settings to where if somebody posts something and tags you in the post that you've got to approve it before it goes to your. Well, that only works if you actually log into social media. And because if not, because then she gives me a hard time. I tagged you in this post and you didn't approve it. And I'm like, I told you that was a bad idea when you told me to change the settings. But it'd be there. Yeah, you can't win. You can't win at all.
I get tagged in so much stuff. I don't care. But that's funny because Lisa always says, I seen you on Facebook, but you didn't like my post. It was a picture of us last weekend or something like that. So then I'll be a smart aleck. I'll be like in the bathroom or something, and I'll go through and like the last week of pictures. And then she just gets mad.
That's right. Is there a default like all button? Because sign me up for that button, and we'll be better off.
And then sometimes the truth is I'll be on social media, and because I'm so accessible to find, my PM box is blown up with tech questions or can I get a price on this? And I have to push people to the right areas because I can't respond to some of it. And then some of it's like really race car oriented and they really needed me, but I haven't had a chance to respond. And it looks bad if I haven't responded to them and I'm posting something on my personal page or liking or commenting on somebody else's. So while I may be taking a break and just looking to see what's posted, I'll purposely not like it or do anything because I don't want people to think, oh, he's got time to goof off on social media, but he hasn't responded to me.
That's funny. I do the same thing. I do the exact same thing. I will scan those for, periodically, like, is there any important messages here, and just not, engage with any of the other posts. Plus, I don't want to get wrapped up in you respond to one and then you respond to 5. And next thing you know, you spent 30. You become the cell phone time violator in the company. That's generally a bad look for the boss.
Because you respond to that guy's message, you're not done. Right. He's going to respond again, and before you got 5 or 6 of those guys going on, you just burn 3 hours.
Yep.
So generally, what I do is whenever I see it, I just don't. I don't click on it. That way, it shows unchecked, so that I don't lose it and I can get back to it.
Gotcha. So before we let you go, take the top 3 myths of nitrous versus reality.
Top 3: it's not flammable. It is combustible, but it's not flammable. Man, the what is that show? Fast and Furious. It's not going to put the welds on your intake, right?
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I'll take that. Well, it might if it's tuned wrong, right? Because it might blow the intake off the car. I had a guy, and it's not necessarily a myth, it's just funny, tell me that he was behind a guy on the street using nitrous, and he knew that he was using nitrous because it sucked all the water out of his radiator.
What?
And the guy was exactly. So he said he was driving behind a guy that was using nitrous in his car, and he knows he had it because it drained all the water out of the radiator of his car. So I don't know. I've heard some weird stuff, man, and sometimes you just realize that it's not even worth explaining it to the guy. You just go, "Wow, that's
crazy." He must have been doing a big shot.
Like, I keep hearing that happens.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, Dave, thank you for taking the time to be with us, man. I know it's I know what it's like to take that time out of your schedule. I appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you again face to face. As soon as we get the opportunity.
Absolutely, I'll see you soon. I'm sure I'll see you back in North Carolina.
Awesome. Guys, thanks for joining us in the Cutting Edge Garage. Make sure that you go to Nitrous Outlet. It's nitrous-outlet.com, correct, Dave?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Make sure you go check these guys out. Best service in the business, and if you're really into racing and you're really into going fast, at some point in time or another, you're going to have to patronize Nitrous Outlet. So thanks again for joining us in the Cutting Edge Garage. We'll see you again soon.